My name is Cacey Wells. I'm a graduate student at the University of Oklahoma.
My name is Lauren Wells, and I stay at home right now.
After we moved up here from San Antonio, we were looking for churches and we're trying to figure out a place to go. We tried some different churches, and some of the things that we're looking for were churches that preached the gospel and also had an emphasis on community.
I think the first Sunday that we came to Providence Road, we instantly felt like people welcomed us and we just felt really connected. And just hearing the emphasis on the gospel, I think, was really huge. And then once we were able to go to a missional community, just seeing how people lived out the gospel in their lives together was really, I think, the first time that we'd actually seen that happen in real life, and it was really encouraging for us.
Some of the ways that we've been ministered to and experienced God's faithfulness while we've been here at Providence Road have been really mostly in our missional community, feeling like we've been welcomed from the first time that we went to just dealing with some different things in our past. A few years ago, our son passed away, and so our missional community really loved on us and helped us work through some of the things that we were still working through with losing him, with grief, and just celebrating his life on his birthday and some little things like that too. For us, biblical generosity is really a response to the gospel and what Christ has done for us. And so while Jesus has really given us everything, for us to be generous with our time and our money and the ways that he's gifted us is, a sacrifice really worth making, because in the end it's Jesus's anyway.
I feel like we've learned that we're stewards of what God has given us, and so it just makes sense for us to be generous with what God has given us, and even the things that we own aren't really ours. And I feel like we learned that a lot just with our son Hudson, that he wasn't ours to begin with, he was God's. And so it carries over into our finances too, that we can trust God with our finances and also look for ways that we could bless other people. I think we've always felt called to give to the church that we're a part of, and so it's kind of a natural thing for us to give to Providence Road. But it's been a more stretching time for us, I think, financially, just with Cacey being in school and then expecting another baby. And so we've still decided just to be sacrificial in our giving and to continue to do that, because we feel like we've just been blessed with so much, and even if it is a little bit, that we can continue to give and support what Providence Road is already doing.
Yeah, and I think Providence Road's been such a blessing for us, since we've moved here and been members for a while now, and it's really it's a joy for us to be able to give back to Providence Road, because they've given a lot to us. In terms of the future that Providence Road has in moving to a new place, it's I think a really exciting time for the church to be in the center of Norman and have its own building. Whenever you tell people you go to Providence Road, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, it's the place that Bethel owns and the BCM sort of meets in, and so that can be a little bit confusing. But whenever you can specifically say, hey, it's this building in the center of town, just off of Main Street, people know where that is, and you have a physical location to go with some really amazing things that God's doing within the church.
I think too, we really like the idea of being a part of a church that's in our community. And Providence Road is in our community, but I feel like now that we'll be moving downtown, it'll be even more central to what's already going on in the city, and like things like the art walk and stuff, that people will just be able to see Providence Road more, and that we can just be in a better position to continue to reach people in our city.
I'm Cacey.
I'm Lauren.
And we're here to plant the gospel, equip the church, and love our city.